Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to show number 1131. Whoa, it's a whole lot of them. You are listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the Socialist. Mama Bear, Mary Brockman's in the hizzy. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed from our program. I want you all to know that this is a contribution free week. All the contributors have the week off. Although this is Sackheads Radio Night, Wednesday night at 11 a.m., the best late night conservative talk show in America at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. on the left coast. Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint, BZ, the Blue Eating Zeppelin, Sir Mark, host of Berserk Bobcat Saloon. They will all be at the hizzy at 11 p.m. rocking the joint like never before. We want to make sure that you are there this particular evening. You may have noted that during this particular contributor free week that I have been on a virtual rampage. At least I've been on the air only on Tuesday. So a virtual rampage. Focusing on conservatism and what it is not. We talked about the Liberal Manifesto last night. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you learned a lot. We got a lot to talk about. I will be on the air Friday night as well. Tomorrow night is Mrs. Big's birthday. New Day Black and Red as well, with the doctor, Michael Jones, the underground professor that he is. We will be live for all intents and purposes tomorrow night. I will be celebrating my wife's birthday tomorrow. I will be taking her to the posh, luxurious restaurant Burger King. Yes, we will get the 2 for $10 meal and celebrate the glorious 16th birthday that is hers. Talk about spending big bucks, baby. That's what we're going to be doing. Also, tomorrow night, I will be giving you details about a fundraising campaign that we will be a part of. Raising money to build and develop great candidates, to lobby for conservative interests in urban America, and as well create outposts of the conservative message in urban America. You might as well write this down. Get ready. We'll talk about it. The Bill Now PAC. BUILDNOW Bill Now PAC. We will be starting that campaign tomorrow night. I want to thank my very good friend Patrick Crazen for his assistance and Christopher Arps for his assistance in making this a reality. But I've listened for a long time to a lot of people talk. I am sick of talk. As much as I am a talk show host and a owner of a growing and influential talk network, I am tired of talk. I have listened to people explain to me how their efforts in urban America will cause a transition to a heritage that dates before 1960. And we're going to talk tonight about a lot of stuff that conveys to this. We talked about conservatism last night. We're going to talk about capitalism tonight, and why those on the left and the right have created the crony capitalistic structure that is in place in urban America, and how we have to stop talking about it and do something about it. I wrote an editorial earlier this week. Didn't receive too much attention, and probably because it wasn't radical enough. And I don't do it for the attention. I do it for the enlightenment. But there are those who earnestly believe without a shadow of a doubt that if we let the horse keep going in this race, even though it's in last place, we have an opportunity to win. And I'm tired of racing with the horse that comes in 14th, although there are only 12 horses running. There's only one thing, and in my editorial, you'll understand. There's only one thing that the left and the right understand, and that's victory. The left and the right can't give you the victory that you want. We have to build it. When are we going to build it? We're going to build it now. I'm tired of people talking about all of the problems. We are going to start solving them right before your very eyes. It will take your help and the help of many others to make that possible. But the talk, as for me, the talk's cheap. The only thing that matters are the victories. And I'm building for victory. I have a victory garden. Does anybody remember those from the cartoons? You know, a victory garden. I am planting a victory garden. Someone else will water it, and God will get the increase. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow night and also Friday night as we attempt to raise money to do what's necessary for America's urban culture to change. It won't change because we talk about it. It only changes because we do something about it. And I know I am going to be so offensive to a lot of people who happen to be of the same paint job that I am. And, you know, they will slight me accordingly because they will say, hey, Ken, why don't you work with the Republican Party? And I'm going to tell you why we can't tonight work solely with the Republican Party. And not that I'm going to reach out across the aisle, because they certainly don't have our interests at heart. But ladies and gentlemen, there is a large population of independent people who, for the sake of the things that I'm talking about over this week, don't want to involve themselves in politics at all. And my job is to motivate them and enable them to use the power that God vested in them in this Constitution. When are we going to build it? We're going to build it now. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for someone to bring us the nails and the hammers? No. Well, you can always give us the nails and the hammers. We're going to start building it now. Can we do it alone? Well, no, we can't really do it all by ourselves. It's going to take some support. But gosh darn it, once we have it, we're going to empower success. I am telling you, my battle plan is not for overnight. It's for 100 years. It took 175 years for urban America to become progressive. And over the 70 years of progressive politics, we've watched urban America die. Just because you have scaffolding up doesn't mean you're building on life. You can build all kinds of stuff around stuff that's dying. There is a cancer in urban America, and its treatment is by Christianity, conservatism, capitalism, constitutionalism, and personal individual sovereignty. Without those five, there's no healing in urban America. When are we going to build it? Build it now. Build now, pact. That's what we're doing. We're going to build it now. Thank you, Wolfman, Dave Milner. It's a shell, my friend. You're absolutely right. And there are those who have my paint job, who have my hue, who have the same microphones, and they would tell you straight up There is no life outside of the Republican Party. I want you all to understand something. In urban America, the same shell that the Democrats have built is one that's been left behind by the Republicans. We're going to talk about that. You know how we start this program, and I apologize. I've already started my platform, but I want to build it now. When we're going to build it, build now, pack. Um, but we always let the kids lead us out, and so that's not going to change. And plus, we have a very special thing that we're going to play tonight. 707 promo by Dave Milner. I want you to be a part of that. So, kiddies, get your mom and dad together. For those who are watching at home, the the Republic's flag is right here. Flag of America, the United States. The big one, smaller ones are right behind me here. I want you all to do me the greatest favor in the world. Put your right hand over your heart and let the kids lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, very simple. Take off your hats and everything else. Let's not be craven. And let's do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. Kids, take it away. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. I say let your kids do it at home because you're not assured they will do it when they get to the schoolhouse. I love my brother, Wolfman Dave Milner, in the chat room. He says, if you build it, they will come. I believe that. I also believe they'll donate. And quite frankly, I want to make you all also aware that we are on Ustream Basics, so sometimes we're going to be interrupted by commercials.
Brookside Dark Chocolate is for my smooth side, my sweet but not too sweet side, and my dive right in, savor every delicious bite side. Brookside, for all your sides.
A drink for when only a few people RSVP to the invite, but now you're getting a bunch of texts like, hey, can I bring Jose? And you're like, the more the merrier. And now you're like, what do Jose and the merrier like to drink? Smirnoff Ice Screwdriver, flavors for every occasion.
Okay, I'm not going to be tricked tonight. I was tricked last night. There's always a little hook here. No? Okay, no more hooks. All right. You got to be careful with the Ustream. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let... I can't... I'm not supposed to. You know, the hardest thing for me to do is to keep a secret. That's probably why I didn't make it in the CIA or the FBI. I just... Something about... But I want you all to understand something tonight. We will be making some moves in the next few days to change how urban conservative talk, news, and commentary is brought to you. That's all I want to say. I want to, no, it's not all I want to say. I want to say a whole lot more. It's all that I can say at this particular juncture. And I've always told you that we have to control the narrative. There are too many people out there who have a hand in the narrative that we're speaking, and I want to change that. No matter what people say or think, I want to change the fact that control of that narrative is mine. Now, what happens after the control part of it, well, that's what criticism is for. But I tell you this, we certainly don't... Those who tell you that they are in power because their king says so are fruitless. And I want you to understand about capitalism tonight. Capitalism is one of the greatest ideological, philosophical, economic, faith evolutions in the history of mankind. We have been told over the years that capitalism is based on greed. Capitalism is based on racism, sexism. Capitalism infringes on American sovereignty and people's liberties. And I want you to understand something. It was capitalism that drove people to America. They may not like your politician. They may not like the neighborhood or the house that you live in. But there is one idea in America that is seized upon by the Russian, by the Chinese, by the Indian, by the African, by the Australian, by the Canadian. Maybe not the European. But there is one thing that they've seized to. It is that hope that I don't have to stay in a separate class. And for those who are listening to me in India, Delhi, New Delhi, India, you understand what I'm saying. I am not class stratified. I can go beyond class stratification. I can own my own property. I can create a business off an intellectual property, an idea. Do you not know that in our Constitution there is protection for intellectual property? Who would put that in a Constitution? Only people who would strive to be the best economic system in all of the world. We went through imperialism with Pharaoh and dictators like Caesars and barons and noblemen, and we went through feudalism. But it was something in the hearts of people like Bastiat and Adam Smith and others who said, you know what, the Pilgrims, you know what, something in this word of God, which takes me back to Deuteronomy 8:18 from last night, something in this word says, when another man has hold over my life, he constrains me in the liberty that God's given me. When someone takes away my freedom to express the satisfaction of a need by targeting me to a specific economic system that benefits only a few elite, that thing starves and destroys who I am as a person. And I, liken unto the feudal lords, am a person created by God. They don't have greater liberty over me, nor I over them. In fact, we are equal in the eyes of God. Let me take you to a group of people that don't believe in equality for a moment, if you don't mind. It's the Congressional Black Caucus. And the Congressional Black Caucus wants to tell you that they were established in 1971. Okay? And it is true. The Congressional Black Caucus was established in 1971. And so here's my question to you. Can you name one piece of legislation that the Congressional Black Caucus passed since 1971? You know, I could give you an hour, you probably couldn't think of any. In fact, they can't point to anything themselves. What they have told everyone is that based on the color of one's skin, there needs to be a coalition that caucuses in the U.S. House of Representatives. You know why they can't caucus in the U.S. Senate? They ain't got to know. but they can caucus based on race. Because I got to ask you a question. How would you feel if there was a congressional white caucus? Which I've always said you need a congressional white caucus. If black people have problems, then don't white people. The Congressional Black Caucus wrote this just the other day to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Dear President Trump, as chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, I write today to acknowledge receipt of your staff's communication inviting the Congressional Black Caucus to meet with you. In written communication dating back to January 2017, we have shared the priorities of the caucus as they relate to the black community. Now, I want you to understand what that phraseology says. That the caucus relates is not what they're saying. What they're saying is that Congressional Black Caucus represents all black people in America. I want you to ask yourself if Colonel Allen West feels that way, or Senator Tim Scott feels that way. Ask them if they really feel. Does the Congressional Black Caucus represent all black people? No. But they have presented themselves as representative of the entire black community. Exactly definition of black community we can't get, but they say we are serious about the work of advancing the interests of our people and the goals of the CBC. As a result, we took advantage of every opportunity to educate you on the needs of the black community. And since there's only one body, the Congressional Black Caucus, that knows every need of the black community, whichever that is defined as, that we don't know, and provide you with the information and solutions necessary to act on them in good faith. Through an objective assessment, we have seen no evidence that your administration acted on our calls for action. And we have, in fact, witnessed steps that will affirmatively hurt black communities. Okay, so hurt them, we will find out. While we agreed to explore possible future discussions when we first met, it has become abundantly clear that a conversation with the entire CBC would not be entirely productive, given the actions taken by your administration since our first meeting. While you can solicit the engagement of individual members of our caucus, the CBC as a caucus declines your invitation to meet at this time. Now, mind you, I asked you the question at the beginning of that first paragraph. Can you name one piece of legislation that the Congressional Black Caucus has passed? You probably cannot. And even after reading that first paragraph, you probably will not either. However, they deem themselves to be the logical and progressive representative body of a race of people. All 12 million and slowly dying out because of abortion. Now, who did they receive that invitation from? The President of the United States. Why did they send that invitation? Because conversation is essential. They say that they met with him on the 22nd of March and presented him with a 130-page policy document because we recognize the opportunity to educate both you and your administration. You see, they weren't elected to be legislators. They were elected to be teachers, possibly union teachers. And apparently they are predisposed to the concept that what is good for all black people are these things. And if not these things, then all black people will suffer. Why do I mention these things to you? Because they have everything to do with being opposed to capitalism. Here's number one. Propose draw much needed funds from programs that serve low and moderate income people. You see, you're taking money away from low income home energy assistance programs, which help seniors and other helpless populations. I want you to understand.
Take it back to the days. I'm living proof of a dream come true. Hey, yo, Pop, what's up, Charlie? Let's get it. Welcome to the winning team. Mango Syrah, why not? Let's get it.
A drink for when you're at a barbecue having a really animated conversation with someone and you're agreeing on everything and then you're not sure what to do anymore. So you cheers. Smirnoff Ice Original. Flavors for every occasion.
And welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first the Republicans, then the socialists. Indeed, I want to thank the good people at Ustream and also Livestream for playing us on their particular networks live. SHR Media, which will be coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on this very same network for those who are listening to us on the Spreaker segment of SHR Media. Also want to thank those who are broadcasting us live at HP Pundit, and those who may be playing it back around the world as well, with the individuals from Talk America Radio and also Red Nation Rising. You can listen to us on the Liberty Channel with Talk America Radio at 2 a.m. in the morning. I want you to understand something. Smokey, love you, man. Glad to have you here. I want you to understand something. Apparently, all black people need the $4 billion that has been cut from Pell Grants, because all black people are low-income college students. Yeah. Also, low-income home energy assistance programs, concerns regarding mass incarceration, because all black people go to prison. Cuts in the TRIO program at historically black colleges and universities, because all children who went to those well-funded educational centers called public schools have to go to remedial classes in college and thus need TRIO programs. And then there's the Affordable Care Act. And you are absolutely Donald Trump opposed to the Affordable Care Act. And all black people need affordable health care. Yeah. Although they will not tell you, the Congressional Black Caucus that voted across the board for the affordable health care, that it's no longer affordable. There are some places where there will not be any healthcare insurance providers in the fall season. Aetna getting out. U.S. Healthcare getting out. Companies leaving by the payload. So apparently, because those things, now I want you to understand, not once did they raise the issue of unemployment. Not once did they raise the issue of capital access for entrepreneurs. Not once did they raise the issues regarding Dodd-Frank and how it has stymied economic opportunities for persons to buy homes. Not once did they bring up the issues of economic development in urban centers that would create jobs. Not once did they bring up the STEM programs and why they need more money. Not once did they bring up school choice. Not once did they bring up anything about lowering taxes. Notice the Congressional Black Caucus only brought up issues regarding taking money from the rich and giving to the poor. And why is that? It's because Republicans as well as Democrats have bought into the flavor of the month out of the Kool-Aid packet of urban America. That if you pay us enough, we will just go away. I know y'all don't want to hear that. I know y'all trying to find another. Where's Rush Limbaugh at this point? I mean, how dare he say that to us? Can I get real with y'all tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Capitalism suffers in urban America because of those on the left and those on the right. Those on the right that don't come into urban America because they either fear for their lives or that there is no agreement for capitalistic pursuits. You don't fight. Why fight in areas where they don't want you? How many men have married someone that didn't want them to date them? And now you're happily married. Sometimes if it's of great value and great cost, you have got to fight the fight to bring it back alive. Can I be real with you tonight? Someone put together the Congressional Black Caucus in 1971, which is, if you call them a mediocre group of legislators, you would be giving them too much credit. They are a poor, slovenly, lazy group of legislators. They have bought into socialism and have only one purpose, that is to destroy the Constitution that even has within the provisions of the U.S. House of Representatives the responsibility of protecting intellectual property. And not once did the CBC talk about capitalism. I want you to understand something. They are dead wrong. They have always been dead wrong. But the left is not wrong alone. The right joins them in the same mentality that keeps economic productivity from coming to urban areas like the one that I live in. People here call economic productivity gentrification. They call it that for the essential cause of saying that capitalism is racism. Can I put that? I'm going to put that in there for you. You can play it for yourself. See if this works. See if this works amongst your friends. Gentrification equals capitalism and racism. I'm putting that in there, and I just want you see if you get amens from people who have bought into that, and not only have bought into that, spread it daily. They believe it in their hearts of hearts. Yes, I am not lying to you. They believe it in their hearts of hearts. Gentrification is because of capitalism and racism. Racism because white people, although white people are steadfastly moving into low-income areas, and the reason why they're moving into low-income areas is because the economy looks good there. I can buy a home, you'll give me state or local or county money to fix the place up, and I can stay in it, and I can pay that back over time. That's gosh darn good. So instead of paying $500,000 for a property up in Adams, Morgan, I could spend $200,000 for a place over in Southeast Washington, D.C., put $100,000 into it, fix it up, and then be able to evaluate it in terms of property values for the free market sale of it for $500,000. I made $200,000 in equity. Which one of those would be a bad investment for me? The Adams Morgan or the other? The Adams Morgan. It's taking a little longer for me to get the equity of $200,000. But I want you to understand something. The black community has been told that if white people move into your area, that's called gentrification. If black people move into your area, that's called economic development. There is no good thing in capitalism, is what they tell you. In fact, they tell you that the only way you're going to make it is if the government involves itself in what you're doing. I want to tell those who are tuning in and listening tonight, because I put the picture of Malcolm X and Fidel Castro out there, and I know that there are some Republicans that will look at that and say, well, see, I told you, Ken wasn't really a conservative. I am more conservative than you would ever know or ever believe. But this is what Malcolm X said on February 21st, 1965, and it has taken hold of people who are likened on those who represent the Congressional Black Caucus and feel that they represent all of Black America and work harshly to imprison Black Americans with mass incarceration, who changed the laws. It was Democrats that changed the laws to incarcerate a large number of Black people. Who takes away capital from Black America? It's Democrats that work very hard to raise taxes and throw out banks and institutions that can lend money to those who can do development in those areas. Why did they buy into that? Because they bought into the radicalism that comes with those who are opposed to capitalism, who happen to be on the left, and are princely using Black people to destroy themselves. Through abortion, through socialism, through Marxism, through liberation theology, yes. But I'm not through tonight. There are some on the right that bear some guilt here. Malcolm X said this back in 1965, you can't have capitalism without racism. And I want you to understand something. Because of who Malcolm X was in urban America, people accepted that as truth, gospel truth. Not that it was any truth to it whatsoever. It was an opinion. But because he was validated because of his relationship with the Nation of Islam and his radical discourse, especially to those on the Republican side who were fighting for civil rights at that time, he was radical. Where my Malcolm X glasses? Let me get my... See, I'm going to show you the difference. The way I look right now, I look so cool. You know, he's so cool. He's debonair. Watch what happens when I put these bad boys on. I learned this in kindergarten. Wow, that's an intellectual right there. Look at him. He can probably tell you everything that's going on around the world, and I trust what he says. Malcolm X says you can't have capitalism without racism. It's impossible for a white person today to believe in capitalism. Now, did white people on the left believe that? Heck no. They believed they needed to lie so that people who were white on the right side of everything would start believing that, and thus start accepting some of the bull that was being preached. They said it's impossible for a white person today to believe in capitalism and not believe in racism. And if you find a person without racism, usually they're socialist or their political philosophy is socialism. You have to understand what Malcolm X and what the Marxists were doing at their time. They were saying real black people and real white people exist to promote the oppression of those who seek liberty. If you're not stealing another man's wealth, then you're not really white or black. Or if you are stealing another man's wealth, then you are an acceptable form of socialism. in Marxism. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that capitalism was created so that men and women who were low in stature, who were dependent upon a few elite to give them their daily bread, not God, but a few of the few who would give them their daily bread and mete out for them their duties in life and tell them what they were supposed to be, tell them what they're supposed to say, tell them where they're supposed to go. You see, those individuals and those who subscribe to that philosophy are right and righteous in the eyes of the left. But for those who believe that you, who just got to this country following all the rules, wishing to assimilate and be an American, who has $10 to your very name, who's working day and night, takes whatever money you saved up.
A drink for when only a few people RSVP to the invite, but now you're getting a bunch of texts like, hey, can I bring Jose? And you're like, the more the merrier. And now you're like, what do Jose and the Merrier like to drink? Smirnoff Ice Screwdriver, flavors for every occasion. A drink for when only a few people RSVP to the invite, but now you're getting a bunch of texts like, hey, can I bring Jose? And you're like, the more the merrier. And now you're like, what do Jose and the Merrier like to drink? Smirnoff Ice Screwdriver, flavors for every occasion.
So all I've witnessed in terms of Ustream commercials is people like to drink. Welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. I am your host this evening, the Exceptional one, MCCLENTON, talking about capitalism. We'll get into greater details regarding that and little expressions of study and things, but I want you to be aware of something. The left is out to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And there's some who are on the right and some who are the same color I am that want to aid and abet the stealing, the killing, and destroying of America. Why am I not afraid to say that to you? Because I ain't got nothing to lose. What you gonna do? Take my show from me? Really? Really? Is that the best you could do? Take my house? What? Really? Is that the best you could do? Here come the threats when the truth gets out. We will take from you what you have amassed. You see, the founding fathers, and many of them perished in poverty, having given up all of their wealth that we might be free. I learned from them in my studies of my youth that you grow not attached to the thing that you possess. You grow attached to the one who's given you the power to possess the thing. And no matter what you lose in this life, you have been treated better in life than you deserve. God has been better to you than you ever could have been to yourself. God did not approve of slavery, whether in the Old or the New Testament or in America. But what he taught people was love them through whatever the conditions of life you're in. Heap hot coals upon their head. For your stewardship and administration, no matter what the circumstances of life, will draw men unto me. And I will crush them between the hard rock of love and grace. But unfortunately, in America's churches today, especially in urban America, you are being preached a lot of hate. I want you to know, I don't sit around in the movie house for hours on end after the movie ended. When the movie's over, I get up and I go. However, there are many on the left who have told black Americans, Negro, colored, or otherwise, however way you wish to say it, that they have to sit in the movie house and wait because the war isn't over yet. You are still a slave. You are still broken. You are still in a condition where the white man is holding you down. And I want to ask you a question. In your urban America, how many white people live next to you? How many white people come to your home, knock on the door, bring the AR-15 in and say, you ain't going to work today? It don't happen. God has given you free will. And if God's given you free will, he's also, Deuteronomy 8:18, giving you the power to make wealth. He did not give you the power to make wealth only in black America, only in Hispanic America, only in Polish America, only in white America. He gave you the power to make wealth. He didn't give it to a few, he gave it to the many. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you see Despicable Me. Okay. I want to see it too. I want to take you very quickly to, let's see, where is this? A Pew report. This is Rasmussen. I'm sorry, not Pew, but Rasmussen. And I want to give you this report so you understand what I'm saying. I want to give you the reason why a lot of African Americans, Negro, coloreds, and blacks who join the Republican Party don't see changes. And like I told you, I'm tired of the talk. I'm tired of you all needing a conference to get together to talk about what you need to do to help black America. Tired of it. We're building it. We're going to build it now. Wednesday, July 3rd, 2013, more Americans view blacks as racist than whites and Hispanics. This is Rasmussen reporting. Americans consider blacks more likely to be racist than whites and Hispanics in this country. 37% of 37% of American adults think most black Americans are racist. Although blacks will tell you that they can't be racist because of slavery. That's bull. According to a new Rasmussen Reports national telephone survey, just 15% consider most white Americans racist, while 18% say the same of most Hispanic Americans. There is a huge ideological difference on the topic. Among conservative Americans, 49% consider most blacks racist, and only 12% see most whites that way. Can I explain to you the partisan perspective? You're not racist to me because you're not doing anything that might hurt me. Say the Democrats. You believe in aborting your babies. That works. The more you abort your babies, according to Margaret Sanger, the less the poverty rate will be for us. And us having to take care of your poor babies and give you food stamps and watch you do so poorly in educational environments. You see, I love black people as a Democrat because they stay in their black areas. They don't move out here to the suburbs, and they're not interested in joining the clubs and things that I'm involved in, and if they wanted to join, they would have to fill out an application to work there. They couldn't possibly actually be a part of it. You see, I can't be a racist as a Democrat because black people keep doing, as Democrats, everything that keeps them down. Everything that they bought into in terms of what we believe doesn't work for them. So how can they be hurting me? I love black people because black people hurt themselves. Is what the Democrat theology is. And I want you to understand that the theology of those on the left is not religion, it's not faith. It's actually secularism. They believe the more government you have, the better off you are. Black people have bought into that in urban America, even though they are worse off for buying into it. Let me give you the alternative side. 49% of Republicans see most black Americans as racist. 49% of Republicans. You want to know why it's hard to recruit people to the Republican Party? Did I make it plain to you why it's hard for you to recruit people to the Republican Party? When 49% of those who are there don't want you there, and why do I not want you there? You always need a scholarship for something. Can I be real with you? Can I be? Every time there's something going on, you need a scholarship. I know what I just said. Most of the black Republicans will now say, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that, kid. You shouldn't have said because that sounds like you're racist." If you are constitutional, if you are conservative, if you are a capitalist, if you believe in personal sovereignty and individual rights, if you believe in Christianity, then the reason that you are a Republican is because of those 5 things. It has nothing to do with your race. If the only reason you want me at your event is because of the color of my skin, then there's something wrong with you. You haven't bought into those 5 principles. But let me explain something to you. Many people join the Republican Party from the Democrat side without changing what they believe as a Democrat. They want to come in and infiltrate and teach you how to be a better Republican, to be a compassionate Republican. That means don't bully the LGBTQ crowd, even though they want to install pedophilia as a way of life. No, we must find common ground. No. You have to find a way to raise taxes on businesses like oil companies who produce fossil fuels, which create climate change. You see, climate change is real because other scientists have said it. When I was a Democrat, they proved it. So it must be true. And I want you to know something. I believe in capitalism too, just like you do. But I'm not greedy. You see, a capitalist is someone who's greedy. They only think about themselves. And because they only think about themselves, well, it's not a right system to really promote. So as a good thinking Republican, we need to include a socialized medicine, and we need to include affordable housing, and we need to include raising taxes and regulations and keeping our eye on corporate Wall Street America, because they're beginning to tear down our neighborhoods and our communities. And so what's happening is you're not changing urban America with conservative principles. You are accepting the liberal principles and infiltrating it into republicanism and then telling everybody you're conservative, which is a bold-faced lie. I want you to understand something tonight. Good evening, Celeste. Love you. Black people vote for Democrats because they don't hurt Democrats. Unemployment works for them. Why? Because they have philosophies that have been installed upon those. And if you look in Virginia in terms of education, there is a grading curve. Asians have a higher grading curve. Whites have the next highest. Hispanics have the next highest. And those with the lowest grading curve in Virginia, the Commonwealth, are blacks. Why is that? Because a dumb black person doesn't hurt Democrats. A poor black person doesn't hurt Democrats. You don't have to compete. All you have to do is throw some pocket change. They will accept it, and life is good. And in fact, many of them are bringing that same schism of thought into the Republican Party. And you're believing it, and you're changing the Republican Party, and there's no difference now between you and the Democrats. If you are a capitalist, there's no way you can accept the philosophies of those on the left. And I hear you. I'm not going to tell you individually who have I listened to, but I'm going to, because that would be just wrong. I don't want to throw shade on folks. But I hear you. I hear your conversations talking to me and saying, but Ken, how are we going to get more black people into the Republican Party? We have to change what we do to get more black people in. You don't get more black people into the Republican Party by being the Democrat Party, because you end up hurting yourselves and then hurting them. Socialism.
A drink for when only a few people RSVP to the invite, but now you're getting a bunch of texts like, hey, can I bring Jose? And you're like, the more the merrier. But now you're like, what do Jose and the merrier like to drink? Smirnoff Ice Screwdriver. Flavors for every occasion.
A drink for when you're at a barbecue having a really animated conversation with someone and you're agreeing on everything and then you're not sure what to do anymore. So you cheers. Smirnoff Ice Original. Flavors for every occasion.
Okay, I didn't get caught. There's another one. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the second hour of the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We certainly are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then to the socialists. I want to thank my lovely guests here on Sackheads Radio Night. They're guests in my chat room. Wolfman Dave Milner, Celeste Clavery, Smokey, we call him the Brain, from Texas. He made me an official, an honorary Texan, never to be taken back. And the lovely Mary Brockman, my bouncer in chief. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. I'm talking to you all tonight about capitalism and how the left and the right, race separatists, are destroying, and I do mean destroying, America by creating a crony capitalist economy in urban America. Some people have bought into the philosophy that the only way you're going to make it in urban America is if you are black and poor and need government assistance. In that same Rasmussen report, it says that 49% of Republicans see most black Americans as racist. But I want to give you something else tonight that Rasmussen's report gave. It gave an insight on black people. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Among black Americans, 31% think most blacks are racist. while 24 consider most whites racist and 15% view most Hispanics that way. I want y'all to understand something. Many of the radical left revolutionaries, power to the people. Oh, I read Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. Yo, many of them hate other black people. If you've ever grown up a black conservative, you know that black people hate you. Do black people hate other black people? Yes. There have been actors who have said publicly, I won't date a dark-skinned woman now that I've made it in Hollywood. Women who have been told that your hair isn't long enough, your facial reflection isn't light enough. If only you had gone to one of the better schools, then I would be attracted to you. And how is this passed on? What has this got to do with capitalism, kid? It has everything to do with capitalism. If I hate myself, and I believe that the group of people that support me love me, even though they hate me, and the other group of people are my enemy, I will never accept what the other group of people say, even though it would be better for me to do it. Because the ones that love me hate me most. Why do we help others by hating ourselves? Can I give y'all some insight on something that really screwed us all over? And for those of you who are following along at home, I like to give information in the chat roll. I'm not just making this stuff up. I don't like to talk off the cuff, extemporaneously. I like to back it up with facts. For those who are following along at home, you can go back to the Rasmussen report, and you can check it for yourself. How do you do that? You can go into the Exceptional Conservative Show at the Exceptional Conservative Network. You can go into the chat roll and basically the Euro Pacific Bank Limited TECN chat room, and you can get all the information that we're giving out. All of the information's right there. So you're asking the leftist radicals that hate black people, love white people that hate them, and hate white people that want them to do better for themselves. You're asking me to tell you how to liberate them. They must first learn to liberate themselves. How's that going to take place? Well, there has to be something in their community that comes in and separates them from that thinking, offers an alternative to that thinking. What's up, BZ? Glad you're here tonight. It doesn't come by making people think a certain way. It comes by being around them and showing that your way works. People love first your success, and then they love to learn to love you. Guten Abend. I want you to do me a great favor tonight. I want you to take a look at what Malcolm X said. What Malcolm X said set the course by which many Americans accepted capitalism. You see, many Americans were told that capitalism was just another name for racism. This is what Malcolm X said, for those who are following along at home. He said, you can't have capitalism without racism. Never challenged. And if you never challenge it, it's accepted as true. And based on the statistics that Rasmussen put out there, if you already can't love a conservative for their capitalism, meaning that you hate them, you have eliminated them as reasonable, as honest, as true, out for my best benefit. So whom can you trust? Well, for blacks, they were told that only socialism works. Only socialism works. Now, I want to give you some quotes from Malcolm X tonight. And I want you to understand that in our community, what is said, and just like in everyone else's community, it doesn't matter what community you're in. What is said that is not based on scripture takes hold sometimes based on people's experiences, or at least their reactions to their experiences. I want to first play for you, before we really get going here, an idea of what capitalism is in our society. But before we do that, I want to play this promo by my very good friend, Wolfman Dave Milner. Let me do that first.
Each year on September the 11th, ordinary citizens of the United Kingdom gather outside the United States Embassy in London. There, they show their solidarity with the people of the United States of America in remembrance of the terrorist attack on that day in 2001, the day Americans call 9/11. On July the 7th, 2005, terrorists exploded bombs in London, killing 52 people and injuring 700. The people of the United Kingdom call that day 7/7. To return and share love and respect with the citizens of the United Kingdom, please light up the darkness of the evening of July the 7th with 7 lights. These could be 7 firework rockets, 7 candles, or any other kind of lights, possibly arranged in a display. Then post what you've done to your favorite social media to further remember the lives lost, those injured, and the nation attacked in the 7/7 bombings. Your posts will be a call to free people everywhere, that they too can be lights standing against the darkness of Islamic terrorism. Let your light of love and resolve shine this year and in years to come by marking 7 on 7/7. Each year on September the 11th, ordinary citizens of the United Kingdom gather outside the United States Embassy in London. There, they show their solidarity with the people of the United States of America in remembrance of the terrorist attack on that day in 2001, the day Americans call 9/11. On July the 7th, 2005, terrorists exploded bombs in London, killing 52 people and injuring 700. The people of the United Kingdom call that day 7/7. To return and share love and respect with the citizens of the United Kingdom, please light up the darkness of the evening of July the 7th with 7 lights. These could be 7 firework rockets, 7 candles, or any other kind of lights, possibly arranged in a display. Then post what you've done to your favorite social media to further remember the lives lost, those injured, and the nation attacked in the 7/7 bombings. Your posts will be a call to free people everywhere, that they too can be lights standing against the darkness of Islamic terrorism. Let your light of love and resolve shine this year and in years to come by marking 7 on 7/7. Each year on September the 11th, ordinary citizens of the United Kingdom gather outside the United States Embassy in London. There, they show their solidarity with the people of the United States of America in remembrance of the terrorist attack on that day in 2001, the day Americans call 9/11. On July the 7th, 2005, terrorists exploded bombs in London, killing 52 people and injuring 700. The people of the United Kingdom called that day 7/7. To return and share love and respect with the citizens of the United Kingdom, please light up the darkness of the evening of July the 7th with 7 lights. These could be 7 firework rockets, 7 candles, or any other kind of lights possibly arranged in a display. Then post what you've done to your favorite social media to further remember the lives lost, those injured, and the nation attacked in the 7/7 bombings. Your posts will be a call to free people everywhere that they too can be lights standing against the darkness of Islamic terrorism. Let your light of love and resolve shine this year and in years to come by marking 7 on 7/7. Each year on September the 11th, ordinary citizens of the United Kingdom gather outside the United States Embassy in London. There, they show their solidarity with the people of the United States of America in remembrance of the terrorist attack on that day in 2001, the day Americans call 9/11. On July the 7th, 2005, terrorists exploded bombs in London, killing 52 people and injuring 700. The people of the United Kingdom called that day 7/7. To return and share love and respect with the citizens of the United Kingdom, please light up the darkness of the evening of July the 7th with 7 lights. These could be 7 firework rockets, 7 candles, or any other kind of lights possibly arranged in a display. Then post what you've done to your favorite social media to further remember the lives lost, those injured, and the nation attacked in the 7/7 bombings. Your posts will be a call to free people everywhere that they too can be lights standing against the darkness of Islamic terrorism. Let your light of love and resolve shine this year and in years to come by marking 7 on 7/7. Each year on September the 11th, ordinary citizens of the United Kingdom gather outside.
There we go. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Malcolm X said. No, I'm not an American. I'm one of the 22 million black people who are the victims of Americanism. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what is more American than the dollar bill? And what is on the back of the dollar bill? In God we trust. So in this statement, you can see that he's assigning a great many symbols
Captain.
Dave.
Captain. Captain.
Dave.
Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I'm telling you, there's some. I can't wait. I can't just tell. I can't see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know Malcolm X made it abundantly clear that one of the 22 million black people, although there are fewer black people today than in the times of Malcolm X, which means abortion is really doing a good job. Great job. Keep it up. One of the 22 million black people who are the victims of democracy. Nothing but disguised hypocrisy. So I'm not standing here speaking to you as an American or a patriot or a flag saluter or flag waver. No, not I. I'm speaking as a victim of this American system. And I see America through the eyes of the victim. I don't see any American dream. I see an American nightmare. What is the American dream built upon? It is built upon the rule of law and capitalism. And yet he assuages the American patriot with the notion that their system creates victims. It doesn't create victors. Now, I want you to know, at a time period when people are trying to run away from the ideal that because of the color of their skin, they are either considered a nig with an at the end, or a KKK member, using the symbolism to attack the American system allows you to destroy the capitalistic belief. Capitalism has created victims. You're right, Mary Brown. He wasn't too bright, but he was effectual. Malcolm X. Very effectual. Because he got people to think a different way. In fact, let me put this in to you. And I want you to understand, from W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey on down, well, on up to our age of Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, Malcolm X put it abundantly clear in terms of how you change the mindset of people who would surrender to capitalism because it works. Malcolm X said, once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. Is that not what Barnabas said to Paul? Once you change your philosophy, you change your thought pattern. He understood from the very beginning capitalism and constitutionalism, those things that I talk about, conservatism, those things that I talk about to you, Christianity, those things that I talk, personal sovereignty, those things that I talk with you about every single night have nothing to do about what is written on paper, but has everything to do with what's written in your heart and in your mind. You see, he understood that capitalism was a means of setting people free. At least, if he had listened to me, or had looked to the history of capitalism. But he had already bought into an oppressive mindset with the Nation of Islam. And with oppression, there requires systematic methodologies that keep people oppressed. Watch what Malcolm X says, for those of you who are in the chat room, and listen to what Malcolm X says for those who are listening by radio. Once you change your thought pattern, you change your attitude. Now, if anyone has ever looked at the Latin regarding attitude, what is the other word that goes with attitude? It's aptitude, heights. But that's not what he's saying here. He's saying depths regarding attitude, which is not from the concept of its origin. What he's saying to you is that if you change your mindset to Americanism, meaning conservatism, meaning Christianity, meaning constitutionalism, meaning capitalism, meaning personal individual rights, then these are the things that will happen to you. Once you change your attitude, it changes your behavior pattern, and then you go into or on into some action. As long as you got a sit-down philosophy, you'll have a sit-down thought pattern. And as long as you think that old sit-down thought, you'll be in some kind of sit-down action. What he's telling you is that what the white man has done for economic independence only imperils you. If I hated black people, I would teach them socialism. Ever gone to college? What class isn't taught in high school? Economics. Because if you tied economic philosophy to political outcome, you would see that nations like Venezuela and Cuba are the essence of what people believe, in the patterns that they follow, in the changes that they make, and eventually the attitude that becomes the depths of their poverty. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been told this before, the greatest revolution in the world is the revolution for personal sovereignty that came with capitalism. When others wrote of what it would be like for a man to get up in the morning, own his own land, develop his own products, and sell those products on the open market, and be able to keep his wealth, he could create an inheritance not just for his children, but his children's children. Malcolm X said, and I want you to know that Bernie Sanders says the very same thing. Bernie Sanders and the other revolutionary leftists who are responsible for the attack of Representative Steve Scalise, although they will, unlike ISIS, not take credit for it, they believe the same thing that I'm about to tell you. You don't have a revolution in which you love your enemy. And you don't have a revolution in which you are begging the system of exploitation to integrate you into it. Revolutions overturn systems. Revolutions destroy systems. As I talk with you tonight about capitalism, a lot of people don't know what capitalism is, but they know for a fact that they can destroy it if they attack it. I want to bring to your attention, just for this moment, Michael Cohen and what he says as a liberal regarding urban economies.
My name is Michael Cohen. I'm a professor of international affairs at the New School University. My lecture will be about the urban economy in the new millennium. I'm interested in the question, why have we, the urbanists, been spending so much time focusing on housing and infrastructure and not thinking about the city as a place where we generate jobs and incomes and indeed create the basis of urban life itself? The world has become more urban, and as we learn about that, we have to understand much more about the possibilities of generating jobs and incomes as a part of how the city in fact develops and supports global development and national development. So I will be speaking about agglomeration economies. Why is the city the center of economic activities? I'll be talking about some of the benefits and some of the costs of that process and some of the negative impacts. How has this happened? I'll also talk about why it matters today. And in fact, what are some of the real challenges that we face when we think about the question of the urban economy. We know that the world has become more urban. Since 2008, the world is more than half urban. And we know also that in that context, more and more people have come to cities, and we know that more and more people within cities, our population growth is expanding, and so we're looking toward 2 billion more people over the next 20 years or so. The question that I'm really interested in is how, in fact, can we make the city more productive? How can we avoid the phenomena of the city on one hand being the locus of promise, of opportunity, but also the locus and the site of the urbanization of poverty. And I think it's true that within the cities, the reason that people are able to generate more income and generate more jobs and economic opportunities are in fact because we're close together. What the economists refer to as agglomeration economies and localization economies, that is where people are closer together, and in dense areas, people are able to do more together. The localization economy.
I want you to understand what he's talking about. Cities are set up for collectivism. Cities are set up to become socialistic. What happens in a city, and you will see it whether it's Detroit or Atlanta or any other from the 1960s on, the more dense they become, the more populated they become, the higher the buildings become, the less conservative the people are. People that are driven out of the cities are people who are conservatives like me. Those who stay in the cities are collectivists. Individuals that believe that we have to all do the same thing to get along. Capitalism becomes staid. We're moving to a crony capitalism, a socialized economy, a secular humanism in theology. One that's built upon the fact that it is the right of the people to submit to rule rather than the rule of law.
Economies reflect the fact that when more people are together, when there's more density, it's easier to do business. It's easier to produce things, and in many places, we see industries where people, for example, in New York City, we have the famous example of the garment district, where on one floor in building, people are producing buttons, and downstairs they're producing zippers, and across the street they're assembling them with cloth. There are advantages of being together and producing goods and services, and those localization economies make a tremendous amount of difference. They allow people to be more productive. They allow them to move faster, produce more, and produce at a higher quality. And the result is that in places of great density, as we've seen in East Asia, for example, in China or Hong Kong or some other places like Bangkok, those economies of agglomeration and density are reflected in economies of scale. You can produce more. When you can produce more, you can generate more incomes. We know also that there are many cities where we have more than one or two or three or dozens, in fact, of industries that are close together and are allowing this kind of growth. And so this allows an exchange of ideas, improved technology, and what the economists refer to as knowledge spillovers, where learning from one industry can help generate productivity in the other. We have examples of industrial parks, of Silicon Valleys, of many places in different cities where this proximity allows more productivity.
Michael Cohen talks about technology and industrial parks that are related to the whole combustion of productivity when technology is applied. If for those who listened to me in the first hour, what part of the Congressional Black Caucus?
I'm a New York City dance legend. I'm putting in the time, the energy, the focus to get it. And I got my crew with me. And we're celebrating the wins along the way. Let's get it.
Captain. Captain. Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain.
Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain. Captain.
Dave.
Captain. Captain.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we already know from Michael Cohen that technology is the centerpiece of how a city grows and how the wealthy maintain their wealth and how big people can become wealthy. What part of the CBC letter from the first hour of our program mentioned any of that? None. You see, Congressional Black Caucus is not sold on capitalism. What they are sold on is collectivism and socialism, some even as far as Marxism, but they've been sold and have sold the products back to black people that it is the rich white people that don't want you to be successful. They want you to isolate yourselves in no-go zones of economic deprivation. And if any of them tries to come in and change that for you, they're practicing gentrification, which is built on capitalism and racism. And you don't need to go to schools where you will learn a trade or technology or anything of that nature. Your emphasis should not be on math and science. It should be built on the social sciences, psychology, social services, communications. Don't worry about the future. The government's got your back. I want you to listen to what he says about the issues regarding unemployment.
Indeed of the world. So the city is the space of opportunity, the opportunity for growth, and the promise for possibly a better future. At the same time, we know that when we put all these people together, they face the problems of congestion, of what the economists call negative externalities, with more pollution, with more crime, with all kinds of disturbances, and use of infrastructure. And so these effects also are negative. We see more pollution, and as you see in this image of a river in the south of Buenos Aires, it's one of the most polluted sites in the world, reflecting lots of people in limited amounts of space. We also know that sometimes if we have too many people in the city, the price of labor actually goes down. There's a surplus.
Notice what he just said. If we have too many people in the city, is he not saying the same thing Al Gore said? Is he not saying the same thing that Margaret Sanger said? Really, there is a surplus population. Wait a minute. Have I not heard that in the Christmas Carol before? The objective of the left is to remove the surplus population, not to integrate it, and not to have them assimilate to the principles that would move them out of poverty into prosperity. Does this not enlighten you to what we spoke about earlier? That there's some black people that hate black people, but they don't hate the white people that hate them. They only hate the white people that would have a system that would talk about liberation and freedom, liberty, patriotism, the American dream. You see, when you are the surplus population and bought into the fact that you are a victim in capitalism, and that you will never be anything more than that, nor your children or your children's children because of the color of their skin, Capitalism doesn't play a part in your life. You become a crony capitalist, if anything. Government has to do for me what the system will not allow me to do. Notice the system makes me a victim, not the way I think, not what I do. Cohen, take it from here.
Times, if we have too many people in the city, the price of labor actually goes down. There's a surplus of labor. There's a lot of unemployment. And so one of the questions is, how do you keep productivity high, but also wages high? And how are you able to create opportunities for people to find living wages and live in a context of decent work? This has become much more complicated as big firms have come to dominate a lot of global production, and what's known as global value chains are dominating the way in which a lot of this urban GDP is in fact generated around the world. Part of the challenge is how do we make the city more productive? If the city is the engine of growth, why is it that there are so many poor people? Why is it there's so much inequality? And so one of the questions really is, what are the constraints to growth, the constraints to being productive? And what we see in many cities is that if we could improve the infrastructure, we could improve infrastructure in places like Lagos or Kinshasa or Nairobi or Bangkok or Jakarta, or indeed in Chicago and Atlanta and New York. In all of these places, what we would find is that people would be able to continue to work and generate better incomes and better product.
We call that, what was it, the work-ready jobs? Shovel-ready jobs? Are we not, even in this administration, revisiting shovel-ready jobs as the answer to the crises of unemployment in urban America, when truly the crisis in urban America is that there is a party that has taught a generation of people after generation of people that government will do for you what capitalism can't. And really, we have run out of other people's money. So what do? Well, we have to tax more. And when we tax more, we have to take more from the wealthy. And the wealthy seems to be a smaller and smaller group of people known as the middle class. And we've been sold another bill of goods that if we just do infrastructure, if we build a bridge, even though technology today will cause us to have less employment created by building a bridge because we have the technology necessary to build it in less time with fewer workers. If we build a bridge, we'll put more people to work. Come to see the picture. The Tower of Babel is a story about economic principles. When people begin to build edifices to heaven, God gives them different languages to speak, and he sends them out. He spreads them out. Now, I'm not telling you that there should be a certain limit on population in the city, but gosh darn it. The answers that conservatives have create employment opportunities. The answers that liberals have create opportunities to eradicate surplus populations. Smokey says, the city I work for built 2 bridges to nowhere recently. Yeah. I want you to understand that when politicians begin to act as capitalists, they do it for the term in which they're in office. They will get their reward when they leave office. But that's not true capitalism. Let me take a moment for those who are following along at home to answer the question. What exactly is capitalism?
Disputes that all economic systems reflect the intrinsic self-concern of
This is George Gilder.
human human beings. But only capitalism creates a group of people known as entrepreneurs who have no choice but to concern themselves with the needs and desires of others. These others are their customers. Few economists, however, actually study the behavior of these entrepreneurs, the creative leaders of capitalist businesses. If they did, they would discover that entrepreneurs, by the very nature of what they do, must shun greed. First and foremost, responding to others is the very opposite of greed. Second, greed in the economic sphere is normally expressed as the immediate consumption of goods and services. I grab what I can without regard for others. But entrepreneurs must begin by saving, which is defined as foregoing consumption to achieve long-term goals. Often it takes months, sometimes many years, to bring a new product or service to market. Furthermore, entrepreneurs must collaborate with others, building teams to achieve their aims. In designing their goods and services, they must, once again, focus not on their own needs, but on the needs of others. This too is the opposite of greed. So what entrepreneurs do when they seek profit is far more than self-interest. Rather, profit is a measure of how well a company has served others. Under capitalism, a business prospers only if customers voluntarily trade for its output. And it's only by improving its service to others that a business can thrive and grow. If the entrepreneur pursues his own interests first and his customers' interests second, his business will fail. And sooner or later, an altruistic entrepreneur will surpass him. Capitalism at its essence, then, is a competition of giving. Of course, self-interest is involved, but the genius of capitalism, and only capitalism, is that it channels self-interest into altruism. Entrepreneurs can only help themselves by helping others. All those who have started a business and made great sacrifices to do so know the drama of that first day. Does the world want what I have to give? Whether it's an immigrant opening a beauty salon or Steve Jobs selling an Apple computer, success is far from guaranteed. In fact, it's just the opposite. Those courageous souls, the entrepreneurs who are the beating heart of capitalism, who bring us the endless material benefits we enjoy, from ATM machines to life-saving medicines, should be held up for admiration, not torn down. Altruism is the very reason for capitalism's existence, and why it remains the hope of civilization. I'm George Gilder for Prager University.
So we understand in the complete perspective of capitalism, rather than in feudalism or imperialism or colonialism, that the individual sacrifices a great deal in order to meet the needs of a great many. Now, not trying to get faith-oriented here, but entrepreneurialism is very close to the concept of propitiation, where someone sacrifices everything to give people what they need, that they might be better off. And the great win of it all is an inheritance or a great wealth that comes afterwards. Capitalism is one of the greatest friends any American can ever have. The individual who risks it all that you might have a better life is a better friend to me than the greedy collectivist who believes that we must eradicate surplus populations by eliminating the poor, by sending them out far beyond places, thus creating a natural, affordable housing process. They move way out of the city into rural populations, thus not adding anything to the rural population, and thus making the rural population provide for them while creating a new harbor of homes that can be redeveloped and sold to wealthy tenants. Collectivism destroys the individual's perception of other human beings.
Captain. 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 Captain.
Dave.
Captain. 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 Captain.
Dave.
Captain. Captain.
I want to ask you real quick. You've heard often about crony capitalism. And I don't think it's adequately been explained. Let me take a moment to tell you what crony capitalism is. And again, Prager University, thank you. Join the movement. What is crony capitalism?
What is it? Why is it so bad? To answer these questions, let's think about good old-fashioned capitalism. It is premised on the free exchange of goods or services between independent agents. Let's say I want to buy some cereal. Steve's Grocery is selling my brand for $4. Ted's Grocery has it for $5. I buy from Steve, which creates the most value for both me and him. Meanwhile, Ted now has an incentive to cut his costs so he can compete better. Replicate this kind of transaction billions of times a day, 365 days a year, and that is how our economy functions and grows, or at least how it's supposed to. Now, what about crony capitalism? Let's say it's the government that wants to buy some cereal. More specifically, the House of Representatives Committee for Cereal Acquisition is put in charge of the task. Steve still sells for $4, Ted for $5. I buy from Steve. He's the low price man. But the Committee for Cereal Acquisition buys from Ted. Why? Because Ted lobbied the committee. Because his corporate headquarters is in the chairman's district. Because he gave more campaign contributions. Because he promised a lobbying gig to an undecided committee member who plans to retire next year. That is how crony capitalism works. And it happens all throughout the government, from defense contracting to farm subsidies, clean energy programs, infrastructure spending, affordable housing, food stamps, Medicare, Obamacare, tax policy. You pretty much name it, crony capitalism is there. Capitalism is moral because it is premised on a voluntary exchange between independent parties who agree to the deal only because it creates value for everybody. Crony capitalism is immoral because one of the parties, the government, has been bought off. This creates three problems. First, it is unfair. Politicians are spending the public's money, but not for the public interest. Instead, they reward friends, supporters, or themselves. Our Constitution grants Congress the power to provide for the general welfare. Crony capitalism violates this sacred principle. Second, it is incredibly wasteful. In our cereal example, the government overpaid by going with Ted instead of Steve. That's obviously a waste of taxpayer money. In fact, it is really stealing from the taxpayer. Here's more waste. Ted had to spend money to lobby the government to get the contract, so he didn't get all that dollar out of the transaction. That's money that could have been spent making a better product or used in some other constructive way. Economists call this deadweight loss, and it can be substantial. Moreover, crony capitalism distorts the broader economy. In some industries, like healthcare, student loans, home mortgages, and aerospace, the government is one of the biggest purchasers of goods or services. So its politicized decisions can have wide-ranging and detrimental effects. An entire industry can become, in effect, a client of the government. When that happens, its goal is not to build a better mousetrap, but to keep politicians happy. How much does crony capitalism cost society per year? It is hard to say precisely, but the number reaches into the tens of billions of dollars, maybe beyond. Third, it tempts politicians to break the law. Once politicians feel free to spend the public's money for their own political purposes, they are just a hop, skip, and a jump away from doing so to line their own pockets or pump up their campaign funds, or both. So what can we do? Our first task is to recognize that government must have limits. Of course, there has to be a national authority to set the parameters for society that establishes the rules of the game and enforces them. But when we expect the government to promote an industry, tinker with some sector of the economy, help some important voter group, we create the groundwork for crony capitalism and all the bad things that come with it: favoritism, waste, theft, and other forms of corruption. America's 7th president, Andrew Jackson, had a very useful perspective on this issue. There are no necessary evils in government, he said. Its evils exist only in its abuses. If it would confine itself to equal protection and, as heaven does its rains, shower its favors alike on the high and the low, the rich and the poor, it would be an unqualified blessing. Jackson had it right. A limited government confined to equal protection can't play favorites. Limited government. If getting rid of crony capitalism is the goal, it all starts there. I'm Jake Const of the Weekly Standard for Prager University.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you have a better idea of what capitalism is. Now, there's so much that I had planned to talk with you all about tonight in terms of capitalism, but I want you all to understand there are those in urban America that have, for the sake of hating their own people, kept us away from the fruits of capitalism. Are there abuses? Yes, there are. Are there individuals who look out for themselves? Yes, there are. But that's not capitalism. We've established the fact that there are two types of capitalism, one true, the other false. It is the false capitalism that allows the hubris of Malcolm X to exploit the ignorance of many people. And then for persons like Bernie Sanders to come back to that same well and pour out the foolishness of the past, blocking individuals from being the best that they can be. Malcolm X said a revolution is bloody, but America is in a unique position. Today, this country can become involved in a revolution that won't take bloodshed. All she's got to do is give the black man in this country everything that's due him, everything. I have news for you, Mr. and Mrs. Black Man. Your government does not owe you anything. You owe yourself everything. Deuteronomy 8:18. Go out and make wealth. If you don't remember anything else I said tonight, do remember this. God bless America, and America, it's time for you to bless God. We'll be back tomorrow night with New Day Black and Red, the Underground Professor. Good night, and God bless you all. Stay tuned for SHR Media's Sackheads Radio at 11 p.m.